Into the fourth week of the Occupy Wall Street movement, and the number of Republicans treating it as an insurrection or an invasion by the Chinese has far exceeded the number of Democrats treating it as something to respect and embrace. In our fourth story on the countdown, while Republicans find new ways to call the protesters jealous, anti-American dilettantes, Democrats line up to defend them. Kinda. But is in fact that the kind of support the movement needs? Today, Nancy Pelosi practically gushing over Occupy Wall Street.
It's young. It's spontaneous, it's focused, and it's going to be effective.
The protesters also getting the support of the New York Times editorial page. The paper, which at first rolled its eyes at the movement, endorsed it Saturday, writing, "The protests are more than a youth uprising. It is not the job of the protesters to draft legislation. That's the job of the nation's leaders. And if they had been doing it all along, there might not be a need for these marches and rallies." The New Yorker magazine also saying the movement could be effective if it stays focused. Hendrik Hertzberg writing in the upcoming issue, if Occupy Wall Street can continue to behave with nonviolent restraint, if it can avoid hijack by a flaky fringe, if it can shake the center-left out of its funk, if it can embolden Democratic politicians, then preoccupied Main Street will truly owe Occupy Wall Street. Meanwhile, though Republicans still can't decide if it's a protest against President Obama or a distraction inspired by President Obama or just Mao Zedong's idea, they know they don't like it. Herman Cain describing the protest as an orchestrated effort by unions to distract from problems in Washington, then calling the nonviolent protesters anti-American. He was on Face the Nation yesterday.
It's anti-American because to protest Wall Street and the bankers is basically saying that you're anti-capitalism.
No, it's not. Meanwhile, Newt Gingrich arguing the entire Occupy movement can be traced back to problems in America's higher education system. Not the rising cost of college. I mean, Gingrich spends that much in an afternoon at Tiffany's. No, he says the real problem is that American universities have been teaching anti-Americanism.
We have had a strain of hostility to free enterprise, and frankly, a strain of hostility to classic America, starting in our academic institutions and spreading across this country. And I regard the Wall Street protest as a natural outcome of a bad education system, teaching them really dumb ideas.
We can delve off into that at another point. Joining me now, the aforementioned Hendrik Hertzberg, senior editor and staff writer at The New Yorker and author of Obama Knows. It's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
So your if-then statement, is there any evidence that it is emboldening Democratic politicians?
I think so, yeah. I think that Nancy Pelosi is certainly one example, and there are plenty of others. And I think they want to be emboldened, a lot of them.
Yeah.
You know, we've basically had a center, so-called center, and a right. But we haven't had a left. And so the center just keeps kind of moving way over to the right. And some of these moderate Democrats are starting to feel not that great about it. So I think that this can open up a lot of space for Democratic politicians to say what a lot of them would like to say to begin with.
In particular, in the first 12, 14 months of his administration, the president and his spokesman said, we like that pressure coming in from the left, keep it going. I haven't heard as much about that in calendar 2011, I don't think, perhaps. But is this possibly something that will move the president significantly off the dime rather than that measured way that has become his well-known way? Well,
he'll always go in a measured way, but he's already started to move, and there's a kind of a harmonic convergence between his move, to start talking a little tougher, and this movement that's kind of come in, and it could backfire, it could cause a reaction. But if it goes along the way it's going along, feeling its way, they don't know where they're going, and you know that's part of what's so exhilarating about it for the participants.
The members of this group, though, the other thing that's talking about backfiring, they seem to be certainly very suspicious of endorsements by politicians. Are they wise to be so, and is at some point that position going to have to be moderated, where they're going to have to accept the politicians wanting to have a little influence in exchange for their ability to influence the politicians?
I think so. I mean, that's the way. That's really the only route to real change, is through politics, through this broken, god-awful political system that we have. Alas, it's the only one we've got. And the Democratic Party is one of the two, and it's a system where that's how many parties you get. It's not because of a conspiracy, it's because one person gets to be president. The only way you can hope for a majority is to have two parties. So, yeah, I don't think they're trying to co-opt the Tea Party. I mean,
Yeah, they're good.
that co-opted the Republicans.
Yes, exactly.
They're trying to get co-opted, in a sense. They're not trying to bottle it up. They're trying to get out of their own bottle.
To touch on the Tea Party, the Republicans have had no compunction about slamming this. Romney just said these are people who are looking for scapegoats. And we've heard the Herman Cain theory that these are people, it's your fault if you don't have a job right now or a car or your own pizza chain or whatever else it is that he thinks he's gotten through his own great work. Do the Republicans not sense any risk, or are they just calculating that the risk is not sufficient, that slamming Occupy Wall Street might contradict their embrace of the Tea Party's supposed populist pro-Main Street message?
It's to me, I don't know, I can't read their minds, but it feels like a Pavlovian response for a start. It's kind of like it sort of like brings out all the old feelings about hippies and radicals in the 60s and culture wars, and I guess they think that they can pigeonhole this in that particular hole, and defang it that way, discredit it that way. It's weird because when the Tea Party came up, Democrats, for good reasons and bad, they tended to say, well, you know, some frustration is understandable. And we understand, we respect their feelings and all that. We don't agree with what they're, you know, that was more the Democratic attitude. And it remains to be seen whether they're miscalculating in not just keeping a little teeny window open to the idea that the Tea Party aren't the only people that are discontented.
It's always dangerous to cite the New York Times as a barometer of anything other than in its particular areas of expertise, perhaps. But is its evolution in a period of 3 weeks from, well, look at these la-di-da kids standing around near Wall Street, to an editorial supporting what they're doing, is that kind of a good way to measure the credibility gain for the Occupy Wall Street protesters in the last 3 weeks? Is it an unlikely way of finding it?
It's a very good way to measure it because those first kind of dismissive stories in the Times, they weren't that unjustified given to what the reporters went and saw with their own eyes, and so Occupy Wall Street has sort of earned its way into the news pages of the New York Times, and now boom, on the editorial page in a big way.
And who knows where next, now that we know that Russell Simmons brought Kanye West down there today. Hendrik Hertzberg, who writes of Occupy Wall Street in the current issue of The New Yorker, and his new book is Obamanos. Great, thanks.
Thank you, Keith.